Welcome back, theater lovers. Today we have a special guest joining us, fresh off their win at the Sutton Foster Awards at the Wharton Center. AJ Denomme, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I just want to start off and say congratulations on your win at the awards. That was such an exciting experience to watch. But how do you feel kind of walking away with such a high honor?
Well, thank you, first of all. But I mean, it's crazy. I I said this in my Wharton interview. If you had told younger me that this was even possible, um, I don't even know how he would have reacted. And it's crazy to think that this is real and that it's happening. I'm so honored and grateful for the opportunity, and I just can't wait.
I mean, that was such a cool experience from an hour's perspective. I can only imagine what it was like to be up there on stage. But you had mentioned in that interview that you talked about that you didn't really begin theater until your freshman year of high school. What kind of made
hmm
you decide to pursue that passion?
Yeah, so I started theater my freshman year, and I would say the first 2 years of doing theater, it was kind of just like a hobby and extracurricular a little bit. I had fun with my friends. But then our choir took a trip to New York City, and we saw both Back to the Future and Hadestown on Broadway. This was in 2024. And
Incredible.
after seeing both of those shows, I was like, I need to do this. I just kind of knew that I needed to keep it in my life in some way, shape, or form. And then I started researching more into, colleges and what the degree can get you and what I wanted to do. And I did decide that, I wanted to keep this in my life as a career, and I went with it from there.
What was it about Hadestown and Back to the Future that you were like, this is what it's it for me?
Yeah. So I saw Back to the Future first. I saw that before Hadestown. And that show, I think, was like the perfect first Broadway show. It was like, very it's kind of Broadway-y. It's very spectacle and big. Um, and I remember just being like super blown away by all of it, and the tech in that show,
My gosh,
insane.
yes.
And so it was like there's so many aspects to admire in that show, and it was like so overwhelming in the best way possible. It's not a sad show, but I sobbed when like during bows and whatnot, and I because I just knew that I needed to do that. And then we saw Hadestown, which I personally I love jazz music, and I
Sure.
love Greek mythology, and I love, very intricate and deep emotional stories, and that obviously Hadestown brings all that right to the table. So that show holds a very special place in my heart, and seeing seeing two shows that are very different and have a lot of range in them, it made me realize that there's so many different opportunities for this as a career. And yeah, I was just both of them were so inspiring, and I knew that I had to keep it.
I mean, there are two very different shows that show you just like the magic of what like theater can be,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, for real.
I remember I saw Hadestown on Broadway. I saw Back to the Future here, but when I saw Hadestown on Broadway, it was the first time I ever went to Broadway, and I was just like, this is a show
Mm,
that like it takes you in, you know what I mean? Like, and so
yeah,
that's it. Really, you really get to kind of play with, like you said, that's such a distinct show. So it's awesome that those are kind of your first shows that were like, this is a career I want.
for sure. Yeah, they were both super inspiring and perfect for the time.
And so I had mentioned to you off camera, but I did see you Tuck Everlasting, and you were incredible, by the way.
hmm Thank you.
And after I saw that show, you're so welcome. Thank you for that performance. I have to say that I did tell my partner after that. I was like, I was in all of your talent. You're going to go somewhere. Um, when did it kind of start? Like that was the moment where it started to feel like a reality. But when did you start like kind of like getting more like integrating it more into like your life in such a big way?
Yeah, I would say probably like the beginning or middle of junior year, I would say is probably when I started like really incorporating it into my lifestyle. Maybe even closer to the end. I was also a finalist last year. I didn't win Sutton Foster's, but I was a finalist last year.
It's
And
incredible.
I remember that moment was, even just being a finalist up there, that moment was really like an eye opener. Like, wow, okay, it's getting real, and like maybe this
Yeah.
is possible, and I can actually do this as a career. So I think around that time, and the shows that I was doing at my school at the time. I did Newsies in February that year, and then I had done Little Shop in April that year. And both of those shows are they were so fun to do, and I just remember really being proud of what I had done that year, especially compared to other years. I had noticed a lot of growth, and I think, you know, kind of appreciating my own self growth, and then also looking at other big achievements from that year. That's when I really realized that it was like a part of me and a part of my life, and
Sure.
then I was able to start incorporating it into, daily routines, like taking care of my vocal health and whatnot. And,
Sure.
it comes more than just, the hobby and the extracurricular.
Sure, absolutely. Especially when you have such talent that runs in the family. Your mom's also an actress and she's incredible
Yes.
as well.
Mhm.
Um, so a lot of that talent just kind of it runs, and so it's awesome that you're able to kind of integrate that into your life. And I'm sure you had quite a support system to be able to do that.
Yeah. My parents have given me so much and supported me throughout the entire thing. Even before it, was planned to be a career, when it was just an extracurricular and a hobby, they were still paying for voice lessons just because I wanted to be better for my own sake. And then, obviously eventually it becomes an investment for my career, but they've always been by my side the whole time, and I'm so grateful for them.
So you had mentioned about being in, being a finalist in the Sutton Foster Awards previously. How do you feel then, like you being that finalist previously, how does that kind of translate to how you approached it this time around?
Yeah. So, um, I mean, last year I did not think being a finalist was really even in the cards at all. I didn't think it was a
Okay.
possibility. So, um, I took that opportunity with, like, I did not take it for granted for a second. And I went in with that same mindset this year. I knew I was like, I don't care what happens. I don't care if I'm not a finalist. I don't if I am one, that's great. And again, I wasn't going to take it for granted no matter what. I was just happy to be on that stage with all of those talented performers and to meet new people. Um, but I guess it was kind of cool because it was like, even though I had already had the experience, it still felt so different because I've grown so much in this past year. So, it's the same opportunity. You're a finalist at the same competition, but I felt a lot more proud of myself this time. I feel like my growth from this year's finalist performance, or from last year's finalist performance to this year's, was very significant, and I was very proud of myself. So
It sounds like you went into it with such like almost like an ease, which I feel like a lot of people would be very anxious, but you were just kind of like there to soak up as much as possible and to be with
yeah,
other people who love the art.
yeah, for sure. That's what I feel like the Sutton Foster Awards are really all about. There's so much to do in such little time, and you have to take in everything. You're working with so many different people, like educators and just other students and performers that you're next to the entire 2 weekends that you're working. So I was just there to take everything in and enjoy all of it for sure.
Speaking of that short amount of time, it was only what like half like since January. Like when was it? I guess how long of a process was it from like auditioning to here?
You get nominated shortly after your show closes. So the show that I was nominated for was Catch Me If You Can in February. So I found out that I was
Wow.
nominated. Yeah, I found out that I was nominated um, like mid February, I would say. And then we didn't have, or you have to submit like videos and like an application online a month afterwards. So I submitted that mid March, and then my first workshop weekend, you either go to the Detroit weekend or you go to the East Lansing weekend for your workshop. I went to the Detroit one because that one's way closer to me. I did that the weekend of May 2nd and 3rd, I think. And then all of us, all students came together May 30th and 31st, and those rehearsal days were all we had to put the show together. So
Wow. I mean, that's not a lot of time at all when you think of
no,
how much work like there it's like a whole performance from
it
start to
really,
finish of
yeah, for sure.
that is so cool. And again, to be with so many people in that are so talented at such a young age, that has to feel almost inspiring as well to be like, hey, we're all a part of this together.
Yeah, and it's like, Every student is a part of at least 2 medleys, while you're there, so you're working with so many different students, and you get to learn you learn from everybody there. You learn from, like, not just the educators, you are learning from the students around you and all of the different things that they have to offer, so it is really inspiring being with such a diverse group of people with so many different talents.
Sure, absolutely. So that in that moment, then when you said you're just kind of there, like it doesn't matter if you become a finalist. You were a finalist, and then you were announced you were to be one of the two winners with the Lee and Ting. What was it like in that moment when they called your name? Because you looked shocked. I'm gonna be honest with you. You looked completely like flabbergasted.
Yeah, I remember, like, just hearing it. I mean, I it was a little, and it's not like it wasn't shocking, but, I mean, I had the experience of being a finalist before, so, like, I thought I would know the feeling, but then they actually called my name, and it was I didn't know the feeling. It was a completely new feeling. It was like an out of body experience. Yeah, hearing my name called was, I don't it was just incredible, and, like, thinking about all of the people who were out there to support me, I was just so grateful for everything, and it was, again, like I said, it was, like, so overwhelming in, like, the best way possible. I just felt so excited and grateful, and there's so many feelings at once, but it was amazing.
And then coming up is the Jimmy Awards in just a few weeks.
Mhm.
So has it set in that this is kind of a reality yet?
Honestly, no, it's, like, creeping in a little bit. I've been, like, trying to get a bunch of laundry done so I can pack and everything, but, yeah, I fly out on Friday, so I honestly don't even know if it's gonna hit me until then, but it is getting more and more real, but it the fact that it is a reality is still insane to me, and I don't think it's gonna fully hit until I am there.
Now, are there ways that you are already starting to prepare for that experience? Or because I'm sure kind of similar to Sutton Foster, if you're a finalist, you have to have a performance, like how do you kind of prepare as you're going towards the Jimmy Awards?
Yeah, so, well, immediately after, I won the Suttons, they had us, like, run to the green room and, fill out a bunch of paperwork and whatnot and let us know, like, all the details of what we had to do. So the day afterwards, I spent, like, all day doing paperwork and, submitting songs and costume measurements. So, yeah, I had to send in a selection of solo songs, that I'm taking with me in the case that I am a semifinalist or a finalist. Um, and then you have to, send them different outfits that you're gonna bring for the show and whatnot. So there is a lot of preparation that goes into it for sure.
That's awesome. And hopefully we're keeping our fingers crossed for a win for either of you, you or Lily and Tang, because that is so exciting.
Mhm.
Um, but you mentioned that this is, eventually a goal of yours to kind of do this professionally. What goals or dreams do you have for yourself, or like when you see yourself performing long term? Like, what does that kind of look like for you?
Yeah, so I wanna really just perform anywhere, um, that I can. I mean, I any opportunity to perform for me is never taken for granted, and, I really wanna be in a space that, I enjoy the venue, I enjoy the people, I enjoy, anyone that I'm working with. I enjoy the area, whether that's New York or a regional theater or a tour, um, whatever it may be. I would hope to spend the first, like, 10-ish years of my career performing, but after that, I would ideally wanna go back to grad school maybe and, be able to teach at a university or some sort of institution.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. What is a dream role for you? Do you have a dream role in mind? You're like, oh, I
Ooh,
want to do
my
that.
my 2 dream roles are, um, Orpheus and Hadestown, if you can't tell, I'm a diehard fan. And then my second is MC in Cabaret.
Two excellent ones that you would excel at. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, those are very close to my heart for sure.
And just one final question for you before I let you go. It's just what advice would you have for young performers as they watch you move on from the Sutton Foster Awards to the Jimmy Awards?
Yeah, I think The one piece of advice that I usually tend to give people is it's like the most cliche answer, but
That's all right.
you really have to know yourself and embrace it. Like I feel like what you can take most from theater is what you learn about yourself. And the best part of it is the more you learn about yourself, the more you can do in theater. So it's like a win-win. You're giving and you're taking. So I think being able to, know your personality and put that into your work as a performer and, discover your range as a performer, challenge yourself, take on different roles that, you think you might not be able to play. And when you end up pulling it off, it's super rewarding and gratifying. And it's there's no other feeling like it. So definitely just put your personality into your work and make it yours because that's the most exciting thing you can do.
That's a fantastic answer. And I just want to say thank you so much again for being here off your busy schedule as you're preparing to go to New York. We appreciate it. And it's been so exciting to talk to you.
Yeah, of course. I'm so happy to be here. I can't wait to represent Michigan.
So look out for AJ and other performance at the Jimmy Awards on June 22nd.